So today what we're going to talk about is the GPT-ification of mobile app testing. But before I go into this one, I'm assuming everybody has used OpenAI, ChatGPT, pretty much everyone. Raise of hand, how many have used it, generative AI in your developer tool sets? Okay, smaller than the other people have used it. So in today's talk, we are going to talk about how we are leveraging no-code platform and generative AI and figuring it out how to make testing very easy. But before I go into that, why we are in this place for in the first place. I started my career back in late 90s, starting at Microsoft, and things have changed. I mean, the people who have been at more than 15 years in software development can vouch to it that, things have changed a lot, right? And the whole engineering teams, how they were disciplined before in a traditional waterfall model to now the agile model, right? Three, as I mentioned, I started working in MSN. If people remember the America Online days back in the 90s, we used to ship 4 to 5 million CDs every year so that people can do an upgrade. Today, we do not talk about upgrading or shipping software to people so that they can upgrade it, because people expect it to be upgraded on an online store, right? Obviously, when you were shipping just a decade back every year, you were in a pretty good team. But today, if you are not shipping every few weeks, you have already lost the battle. Yet, we continue to test the software we have been doing for the past 30 plus years. Either we hire manual resources worldwide, or we hire software engineer to write code to figure it out how to run it using Appium in most of the cases that people use, and it's very painful. And because of that, test automation is one of the biggest impediments for faster releases. So then why is it, and how generative AI and GPT can actually help transform that aspect? So the reason it's so cumbersome are basically four. Number one, just trying to set up an environment to test your application is painful. It's like time consuming. Yet you have to figure it out, real devices versus emulators, right? Deciding now how to increase your device coverage because you're releasing it in like hundreds of different countries and different locales, different setting, right? You need to have a dedicated resources to set up environment and maintain it, because just like any other hardware, it will go down and change it, right? And constantly analyze and failure about, is the device connected or not? Is it like plug in properly? Is it powered or not? Or it has an iOS update or not? Two, multiple framework for creating testing, test automation. Android versus iOS, specialized tools. If you are doing a UI load time or a performance or a visual quality, you have to just try out different tools to figure it out how to work between Android and iOS as well, right? And then framework knowledge like Appium and any other tools like that is constantly evolving. So you have to constantly keep up to that, what's changing, how does it impact me, and how do I run that effectively? And obviously, last but not the least, abstraction layer creates more debuggability issues, right? Is it my test code? Is it my product code? Is it my infrastructure issues, right? So you have to constantly go and figure it out where the problem is happening. Third, maintenance is time consuming, right? People have to spend like daily regression analysis, right? Where it's failing and why it's failing, and higher number of false positives that happens like for pretty much all the team that we talk to, right? And as the product is changing, you have to go and update it, right? All the time. And obviously, one of the favorite that anytime I talk to the engineers, they talk about, hey, it's flaky test. It's supposed to work, it just didn't work because I have a different form factor. Or I have a dynamic content, it's rendered differently on a tablet versus phone, and it just failed. Everything looks fine, but my automation failed, right? And reporting across the whole spectrum from functional to non-functional is different for different teams. Performance team may require different data set versus others, right? And historical data are not actionable. They are very static. It can give you the information, but it didn't give you the insights what I need to go do it, right? And obviously, you need to have more and more reporting skills to go and generate those reports. And then the fragmentation of data sets, right, across the board, from visual design, from your log tables, and then the screenshots. All those kind of creates a significant data set for people to analyze. Is the quality of my application better? So these four aspects, I talk about the problem, right? And look, everybody runs into it. I'm assuming most of you resonate with this problem that you go through on a regular basis. Then the question is that how do we solve these things, right? Using generative AI. So how we see solving this problem around the four key pillars is number one, removing all the barriers to accessing environment, right? You can instantaneously access any Android and iOS devices in seconds. Two, no dependency on any frameworks whatsoever. So you don't need to worry about, is Appium the latest one or not? Do I need to use the latest Android Studio now so that I can have a performance metric correctly, right? And create automation in minutes, not worrying about, is my find by element working? Is my system dialog show up? Is my content is dynamic or non-dynamic? So how do I determine all those things, right? That's where the GPT and machine learning comes into the picture. How do we identify those in a seamless and easy way so that anybody can perform actions as needed, right? And three, wouldn't it be great that, when I have created my test and my product manager writes for new functional specs, I just give it to GPT and said, go figure, go give me, because I have already shown you what my application is, take the new functional spec and generate test cases out of it. That's the nirvana that we want to get to, and that's what I'll show you now is in the demo. Okay, look, proof is in the pudding, right? How do we make sure that we bring all those things together? So again, going back to all those four elements, I'll show you how the no-code, ease of use and ease of setting up environment complemented by the generative AI and constantly learning. So now I'll switch into the environment for our test environment for application. So now I already have an application. This is kind of a dashboard that anybody can go and try out. It gives you all the devices that you can create, access, and run and create automation. So the first thing I'm going to show is that go create a new session for you. So I'm going to test a simple publicly available Hilton app, and then I'll show you how we are learning under the hood and creating automation out of the box. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create one of the devices. They are all physical real devices. So let's take Android, Samsung Galaxy S10. And we have an environment which basically multiple data centers worldwide, and then behind the scene, it works on Azure networking so that it's redundant, works across anywhere in any environment, anywhere in the world. So you see under 10 seconds, I have my environment up and running. These are all physical real devices that you can access from anywhere. And now I can actually configure it and connect it with my CI/CD and get the latest build available to you. So now as soon as this application is installed, so you can see it's downloaded in and gets the application installed. I can change any environment, any new application that I have, that I can make it available, right? So it's like very easy. Anybody can play with it, perform any actions you do it. Under the hood, we are constantly learning on what you are doing on it. So the second thing that I'll show you, that once I get the device, I can now create an automation easily, right? So I can come to the recording and I said, hey, start recording and start fresh. In this case, I'm going to configure the environment, and I'll show you how we can leverage the machine learning and image recognition pieces so that people can easily create automation. So now here I have the latest build available. Now I want to actually go and test. So in this case, I can actually go and since I'm from Seattle, I'm going to search for some hotel in Seattle. And you can see that interactability with your interaction with your device is actually pretty straightforward. I just connect it to the local network, and then the ease of use is much simpler. So now I can actually just go and perform certain actions. And you can see that I have the results here. One of the key pain points that people have is that when they are doing any kind of validation, right? As you know, there are multiple assert classes. Then you have to figure it out. Hey, find by element. If the element is dynamic, then it's very difficult to figure it out what's happening, right? You can actually, in our product, can actually define your assert. So here I can say I want to create an assert, and then you can start playing with it whatever assert you want. You can actually say, hey, I want to create an assert. In this case, it's a text and it has a content and it should be equal to a certain value. In this case, find a hotel. And I can define my interaction on it. You can also define these asserts for images, for any dynamic content. That look, figure it out anywhere in the screen and be able to find out. Another pain point that you have is that you get a lot of indeterministic message box, right, or system dialogue. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it don't. So you can define your conditionality as well, and system can go and figure out on its own. So again, you can just go and see this. Now I can close this and I can search. Another thing that happens in this case is that, as you know, a lot of testers comes and complain, hey, my application is slower on this device versus the other one. What went wrong? Is it my API? Is it my UI load time? Is it something else? So today, developers have to go back to the tester, figure it out what the repro step is, and then address that. And what we are trying to do is to change the conversation, meaning you can define your own threshold, and you can say that, look, I want every step to take less than 1 second. And then anytime a system runs it, you can actually go and figure it out, and system will figure it out automatically and give you information. You can also kind of call any APIs, retrieve the data, use that in your testing, or change your data set, because a lot of people work with different data sets to perform that action. So now you can see this, you can perform all these actions that are there, right? So now what we'll do is quickly that I'll quickly run that and show you how the GPT comes into the picture and constantly learning, right? So now I can stop it and I can say save. I said demo 3 and run that as this. And now I'm going to go quickly run it, show you the report, and then I'll show you how the GPT is kind of learning from this. So I'll quickly run this test. So now the test is running, and you can actually go and all the actions that I just performed, I can actually now run it on any number of devices, right? It's like different form factors, different alignment, and eventually in future you'll be able to run it on different languages as well, so that you don't have to kind of rewrite any of those components. So now you see the playback is started. It's performing all the actions that I showed you before, and it's really very fast, right? How you would do it typically on this one. The same test will take you hours to configure an IPM, writing find by element, checking it, and then running it on different devices, right? So you see in under a minute, your basic test got completed. And now let me quickly show you the results of that, right? So the result that I just did. So now you can start seeing that all the capabilities that are already there. So you can see, as you remember, I kind of set up the threshold as 1 second. So if any step has taken more than 1 second, it will automatically raise all the issues, get you all the log, all the previous 5 steps or the previous step that leading up to that failure, right? And you can analyze your network setting, you can analyze your UI load time, CPU, all of those things is factored into the design, so that you don't have to worry about installing different applications and be able to go run that. So that's kind of the one part. Now, what you can do is that you can actually start analyzing that results instead of asking questions or seeing the report. You can actually go and say, hey, summarize the test result for me. Hey, summarize, give me the results, or give me the data that are available to you, right? So it will quickly go and we are using under the hood the OpenAI and Azure OpenAI components to figure it out, what's happened in the test run, and then retrieve all those information to give it back to the tester so that they can analyze it. So now you can see that, hey, I was able to see this, I can see this result and analyze it. And if a crash will happen, we will automatically detect that crash, will automatically figure it out where it failed and what are the possible scenarios that you can go and fix it. So it gives you the full life cycle of that test. So now you can see in this case what happened, right? But another thing that people want to do, and they ask me all the time, that's great. Now I want to actually just run it as a coded platform. So you can start interacting with the test. So now if I want to say, hey, create Appium code for this test, then you can see that, hey, now what I can do is that I can start interacting with it. I said, okay, great. Okay, I want to run on my local instance through coded. give me the app.pm code, and I'll be able to get that address. And you'll see that in a minute, that the coded environment is also generated. Will show up in a few seconds, hopefully. And what happens under the hood is that we actually are analyzing your results and seeing what steps are, then aggregating that and anonymizing it, and then generating the report and results for you. So I'll give one more second for this to complete it. Another thing that happens is that as we are doing all these things, under the hood we are actually learning. That at the end of the day, software is kind of a state machine, right? You know what actions are performed, what validation needs to be done, how to perform all those things. So we are constantly looking at that data and seeing, okay, what's changing and what's not changing, right? So let's see if I can. I guess I'm going to skip this part for that, because for some reason it's taking a little longer. So let's take an example that my developer or my product manager came as a Hilton app and said, look, it's great, but I actually want to change. I want to change the date time format, which is completely different than what I was showed, right? So now what I can do is that since I know what I tested previously on your application, I can just take this Confluence page and I can give it to Sophie and say, go figure it out what the new requirement is and figure it out what I have tested and generate the test cases for me. So now you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the same thing and I can just go in and show you, oops, sorry, my different instance. I can just come here and I can say, okay, give me create the test cases for me. So I can actually just go and provide the same link that I did, and you can integrate it with any functional spec document that you're using. It can be Word document, it can be your other instance, right? So now you can see what it did is that it's going to go and read it, and it's going to say, okay, what I have tested, and start bringing these things together. Okay, so now you can see that it not only looked at it, but it also kind of figured it out, okay, these are the changes that you need to have, these are the steps you need to go and perform, and these are the things that will be easier for you to go and create it. Now what you can also do is that right from here, you can actually also create automation if you want, or you can actually pass that on to a different platform or your choice, be able to see that, right? And here you can do is that, hey, create this test case for me. Right now it's kind of the manual thing, but what happens is that it has the capability to take you all the way till the end, right? And the more you use it, the more data you have, and it's completely, we are obviously SOC 2 compliant, so we don't pass any information to OpenAI or any other component. We have our own pieces that are in-house that enables people to go and use it effectively, so that you have easier way to validate and check. And one of the things that you can do is that it's everything that I showed you is available publicly. So anybody can sign up at sophie.ai and upload your application and see what is the GPT is living up to the power or not. Can you generate the test cases? Can you run it? So the more you use it, the better model you have and the better execution that you can have. Where we see the industry moving in the next couple of years is really completing the cycle. Today what I showed is that I can take the Confluence page, generate the test case, create no code, but eventually we'll be able to close the whole cycle, that you can just give the app, generate the test, and automatically start executing on it. I think we are closer to that vision than ever before, because now we have a large language model that can interpret that kind of data that wasn't possible before. So with that, I'll end the talk, and we'll be available for any question and answer afterwards, or you can stop by our booth at sophie.ai.